welcome Cecilia Trotter. Let me read a little bit of your bio so that people can get to know you. So Cecilia Trotter for Brevard Schools says, I was born in Miami, one of 9 children in a hardworking Catholic family. My father, a Marine veteran and Notre Dame graduate, ran a small business, and my mother kept our home rooted in love, discipline, and faith. We didn't have much, but we were raised rich in the values that matter: family, service, integrity, and a strong work ethic. In 1994, Cecilia's husband opened a small restaurant together in Margate. Running a business taught her that the realities of budgeting, responsibility, and making every dollar count, lessons that shaped my commitment to fiscal stewardship and public service. She joined Broward County Public Schools in 2007, balancing full-time work with raising 2 daughters who graduated from Florida Public Schools. The late-night homework, school projects, and years of volunteering gave her a deep appreciation for teachers, families, and the essential role of strong public schools. In 2018, they moved to Brevard County to help care for their aging father. During that time, both daughters stepped into lives of service, one as a nurse and one as a physician serving in the armed forces. The dedication reflects the values that her parents instilled in them. For the past 6 years, she's worked at Discovery Elementary in Palm Bay, building meaningful relationships with teachers, staff, and families. Being a part of that community has strengthened the belief that every child deserves support, every teacher deserves respect, and every family deserves a welcoming school they can trust. And of course, as I mentioned, Cecilia Trotter is also a candidate for public office. We do not endorse candidates, but we welcome friends, and we thank you for being with us today. Please come up and join us.
Well, good morning, and thank you again for having me here, and thank you for being here. I think it's so important that we are involved in our communities and that we work together. I really believe in community because the word unity is in community. So together we can make a difference. Like Beth said, I've been in the public education sector for the last 19 years, and I can tell you firsthand, I've seen the wonderful things that public education can do for our children. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But like everything, it's a work in progress. And we have there's so many dedicated teachers, administrators, school staff, bus drivers, cafeteria workers who literally come into these micro communities every morning with a smile on their face, kind words for every child that walks through those gates. We don't know their backgrounds, but it doesn't matter. They give them a smile and always a word of encouragement. And that is the most beautiful thing that I witness on a daily basis when I go to work. Today I'm going to be talking about 2 books that I read over the summer. One, and it's my fault, I meant to send Beth something, but one is called The Privateers by Josh Cohen. And the other one is called Why Fascists Fear Teachers. And they were 2 books and very interesting reads. And especially being a public school teacher in Brevard County, we've had there's a lot of fear right now in our classrooms. We don't know fear about the books that we are bringing to our children. There's fear about using the wrong pronoun, using nicknames. So it's not a very healthy place when there's fear there. So that's why I really looked at these books to help me. So I'm going to kind of stay on script since this is being recorded. This summer, I read 2 books to better understand the national push for school vouchers and the growing attacks on teachers and public education. The first was The Privateers by Josh Cohen, he's an education policy professor who has spent decades researching school choice policies and their effects on student achievement. Cohen traces the history of school vouchers and examines how they have evolved into today's universal voucher programs. I'm not too sure if everybody here is aware of what vouchers are. School vouchers are basically our tax funds being used to, so parents can send their children to religious schools, private schools, or homeschool them. So they're taking that money from, they're our taxpayer, and instead of investing it into the public schools, they're taking it, it's kind of like the money's following the children. So some people agree with that, and some people don't agree with that. And I'm just going to let you know that last year, the state of Florida spent $4 billion in school vouchers. $270 million is still unaccounted for. Public schools were shortchanged $230 million. And on any given day, they could not locate 30,000 students. This session, they had an opportunity to put some guardrails and fix that. They decided not to, and they decided to give the voucher program another $500 million. So this year, it's going to be $4.5 billion. So I'm going to you can let that sink in for a moment. All right, according to Cohen, the modern voucher movement has historical roots that date back to the aftermath of Brown v. Board of Education, the landmark 1954 Supreme Court decision declaring racial segregation in public schools unconstitutional. As public schools became central to the nation's efforts towards integration, some opponents sought ways to avoid complying with the ruling. In many Southern communities, tuition grants and private school vouchers became one mechanism used to maintain segregated educational systems while framing the issue as one of, quotation mark, parental choice. Fast forward to 2023, when Governor Ron DeSantis signed Florida's universal voucher program into law. The program allows nearly every family in Florida to use state education funds for approved private, parochial, charter, or home school educational expenses. While supporters argue the program expands educational choice, I believe it diverts resources away from our neighborhood public schools. As enrollment declines, districts face difficult decisions about staffing, facility maintenance, and in some communities, even school closures. Those changes can have broader effects on neighborhoods and property values. This year, Cape View, which was a school in Cocoa, was closed. And I attended many school board meetings where families from those schools, because the children walked to school, they rode their bicycles, pleaded with them not to close it, but unfortunately it fell upon deaf ears. And it wasn't so much the, I guess, being fit, they have to be fiscally responsible, so I understand that, but it was the way that they took the whole process. It was kind of like sprung on the parents at the last moment and without any real preparation, and they didn't really give the community a chance to participate in finding some solutions. So I think that was on the school board, how they handled that. For decades, critics of public education have argued that America's schools are failing. In my view, this narrative has increasingly been accompanied by political messaging that portrays public schools of places of indoctrination or moral decline. Claims that schools are encouraging children to change their gender identity, promoting inappropriate curricula, or undermining parental rights have become central themes in today's education debates. Whether one agrees with these claims or not, they have contributed to growing public distrust of teachers and public schools. Public education has long been viewed as one of America's greatest equalizers. Horace Mann, often called the father of the American public school movement, described education as, quote, the great equalizer of the conditions of men, end quote. Public schools have helped generations of Americans rise out of poverty, develop critical thinking skills, and pursue opportunities that may otherwise have been beyond their reach. As a teacher, I believe the current attacks on public education are more than curriculum. They are about who has access to opportunity, who has a voice, and what kind of society we want to build. Public schools welcome students from every background and provide spaces where children learn not only academics, but also how to live and work alongside people whose experiences differ from their own. These ideas led me to read my second book, Why Fascists Fear Teachers by Randy Weingarten. Weingarten is the president of the American Federation of Teachers, and she argues that throughout history, authoritarian governments have frequently targeted education as a means of consolidating power. So in her book, she uses these words. She said the word is not so important, it's just what their actions are. So she said authoritarian, fascist, oligarchs, dictators. But we're just going to stick with the word of fascist because that was the title in her book. She examines Nazi Germany and restrictions on education, censorship, and attacks on teachers that became tools for controlling public thought. Weingarten also discusses more recent debates in the United States over curriculum, diversity initiatives, book restrictions, and laws. Whether one agrees with every comparison she draws, her central argument is that education encourages citizens to think independently, question authority, and participate fully in democracy. Thomas Jefferson understood this relationship between education and self-government when he wrote, quote, "Educate and inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty," end quote. Today, Florida faces significant challenges in recruiting and retaining teachers. Teacher salaries remain among the lowest nationally relative to other professions requiring similar education, and many veteran teachers report earning salaries that are not substantially different from those of newly hired colleagues. At the same time, many college students are choosing careers outside education because of relatively low pay, increasing demands, and concerns about political pressure based on the profession. Florida teachers are the lowest paid in the United States. We rank 50. And our school investment per child ranks 41 out of the 50 states. Meanwhile, Florida's universal voucher program has continued to face criticism over accountability and oversight, yet the legislature did not adopt major reforms during the 2026 session. Another challenge facing educators involves Senate Bill 1296, passed during the 2025 legislative session. The law changed requirements governing public employee unions, including teacher unions, affecting certification standards and the collection of membership dues. Organizers such as the Freedom Foundation supported these changes, arguing that public sector unions have become too powerful. The Freedom Foundation describes itself as working to reduce the influence of government unions. According to Orlando Weekly, the organization provided materials and talking points supporting the legislation. The publication also reported that since early 2024, at least 123 public employee unions have been decertified under the new law, affecting representation for more than 69,000 workers. In Why Fascists Fear Teachers, Weingarten dedicates a chapter to unions and their important work to help sustain wages for a middle class. She writes that fascists fear teachers because teachers believe in strong unions. Quote, "Unions increase economic opportunity and fairness for workers. Unions strengthen democracy," end quote. Reading these books could easily leave someone feeling discouraged. Instead, they strengthened my belief that meaningful change begins with informed citizens. We can educate ourselves and our neighbors. We can participate in local government. We can attend school board meetings, ask thoughtful questions, and hold elected officials accountable for the decisions they make. Most importantly, we can vote. Our vote is our voice. If we want different outcomes for our children and our communities, we must be willing to elect leaders who value strong public schools, support teachers, and believe that every child deserves access to a high-quality public education. The future of public education is not predetermined. It will be shaped by the choices we make today. And the League of Women Voters, which is a nonpartisan organization, has a website, vote411.org, where you can actually take some time, compare the candidates side by side on your ballot. They have a feature on their webpage that you can pull up the two candidates and actually compare them side by side. So I highly encourage everybody to check out that website. And thank you very much.